Insert catchy teaser comment here. Good afternoon. My name is Charles Ray Dawson. This is the Emanating Real Estate Podcast, episode looks like 111. I am the Associate Broker and Residential Sales Manager for ProStar Realty, and it is the 16th of March. We're in that fun little period where we're just coming off the Ives of March. We've had Pi Day, tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. The day after that is my anniversary. So, busy week. This one's going to be short. So, a couple things in the news. You might have heard about a bank crashing after we released our last video, and there was a lot of activity in the real estate side of the house. A couple of the major players were going to have a really hard time trying to figure out how to make payroll. One of the lead sources out there had sent an email out to all of the brokers that they were under contract with, going, if you're going to send us a check, do not send it to our bank. We'll get back to you on that. Just hold on to it. Because they weren't sure if that bank was going to be available come Monday. But the Fed swooped in, and after spending several days saying we're not going to bail them out, we're not going to bail them out, we're not going to bail them out, they did a limited, modified, not quite a bailout. So don't say it's a bailout, but it's sort of kind of really a bailout. So on the plus side, everybody who had money deposited in these banks are getting their money out. But the stockholders of that said banks, would be Silicone Valley Bank, Silicone. I actually heard somebody else some of the other day kept calling it Silicone Valley Bank, and now it's stuck in my head. And Silicone Valley, the mind's boggled. Don't visualize. Anyways, so Silicone Valley Bank was actually got last minute reprieve on that, or at least the people who had deposits in there did. The couple other banks went a little squirrely over the weekend, but everything seems to be recovered. On the plus side, this means that for some reason interest rates have dropped, and dropped starting Friday and through Monday and stuff. Last numbers I saw got out yesterday were looking at the 6%. A couple people are actually saying that they have gotten under 6% with sellers concessions and all that other good stuff. I don't think this is going to stick around, but it's nice. If you needed to lock a rate in, Monday was a really great day to do it. So definitely got a lot of activity going. So let's look at what the numbers are, and then we're going to follow up on how this sort of impacts things. So our numbers that we're looking at for March 15th, I ran these numbers yesterday, is 14,274 active listings, which is down 198, continuing its slide. New listings are also trending down to 1,774, down 196. Contracts went down to 2,487, down 204. Closings last week were 1,560. Coming soon to an MLS near you is 584, also trending down. So we're coming out of our spring fling, but hey, let's take a look. Crawford report, supply numbers are at 62.9. Demand is at 83.4, still much lower than anybody in real estate would like to see, but we are still at a buyer's market at 132.6 and still trending up. Taking a look at our local cities and whatnot, our big issues that we got going on here is everything is continuing on the same directions with Tempe and Paradise Valley. And it's actually a little weird with Tempe actually showing a little bit of downward because they're the only ones in the southeast part of the valley trending down. Paradise Valley being a luxury market is down 14. Now remember, anything that happened to the bank this weekend is not going to get impacted on these numbers. These numbers will run on March 9th, right? So don't think that that's all the bankers suddenly going broke. But everybody else is still trending across the board. Chandler's still leading the pack at a 202 on the Crawford market. Definitely seller's market out there in Chandler. And then we've got Fountain Hills, Glendale, Phoenix, Avondale, Gilbert, Mesa, Cave Creek, Scottsdale, Tempe, even though it's dropped, is still Peoria, Paradise Valley. These are all your seller's market still. Surprise and Goodyear are still your balanced markets at 105.4 and 99.2. All right. And then our buyer's markets out there are still Queen Creek, Maricopa, and Buckeye, the outskirts. So, like I said, with the changing everything with the bank over this weekend, continue to track those numbers, right? Is the contagion stopped? Swiss Bank, All right. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that one. They're having issues today. News is all blown up about that. And a whole bunch of banks and a whole bunch of bank investors are suddenly going over the paperwork, making sure they're not making the same mistakes that Silicon Valley Bank did. It'll be fun to watch. The issues that we're seeing on these things are still seem to be located, or specifically with the banking issue. In the case of Silicon Valley Bank, what they did is they just did not know how to run a bank. Basically, they were overexposed because what they were doing is they were taking deposits and putting them into REITs and low interest short-term rates that they have to roll over. Remember, if you got money and you put in, let's say, a 6-month treasury bond, right? At the end of the 6 months, it's not you get the money back, but you got to put it back into another bond. So if you promise somebody out an interest rate of, let's say, 3%, because your 6-month bonds are paying at 5 and you're making 2, that's golden. But 6 months rolls around, if that bond that you normally put that money, roll it back into, is suddenly only paying 3 itself, or even less, now you're going to have a problem. So it wasn't so much that they didn't have the money, it was just put into places where they couldn't liquidate it quickly and have enough money for when the bank run happens. And for you guys who don't know what a bank run is, a bank run is when everybody who has money in the bank decides to all take it out at the same time. All right. And for those fans of Jimmy Stewart in the show It's a Wonderful Life, he gives this great speech where he's saying, well, I don't have your money. You know, Bob's got your money in his store. And Farmer McGregor, you know, that money's wrapped up in his loan and stuff like that. He used to buy seeds. And then next thing you know, the mob goes and, you know, burns down Farmer McGregor's barn looking for their money. Or was that a Simpsons episode? Anyways, so that's what happens. The bank does not have your dollar sitting in a vault somewhere that you can walk in there and say, hey, give me my dollar back, right? What they have is they have enough money to deal with the average amount of people who are going to come up and say they want their money out. But when you come in and say, I want it all, and you and everybody else in the valley decides, I want my money out of that bank, well, they have that money tied up in T-bills, in REITs, and other things that they can't liquidate immediately. Normally, in that case, they would go and they would borrow that money from another bank or from the Fed and stuff like that. And so, long story short, I'm not an expert on banking. There's a lot of really good YouTube videos out there trying to explain exactly what happened. Hey, you can either go talk to your family, you know, maybe learn something reasonable, read a book, cook a meal, or you can go lose a couple more hours on YouTube. Go lose the hours on YouTube. Dopamine. It's a hell of a drug. So, but getting back to the real estate and how this isn't going to impact the valley, I've, you know, short of this little, you know, interest rate dip that we have, I don't think that's going to continue on. Part of the reasons why you see these interest rate drops or suddenly is you see this flight for investors are trying to find someplace safe to put money. All right. And all things considered, a note on a piece of property where you're secured by that property that you can go take that property back is a relatively secure place to put money in the long term. So we're going to see that kicking off. Don't know if it's going to continue on. So don't plan your house buying based on the banks. Base your housing, your selling, your buying based on your personal needs at the time, not what the universe in general is happening. Work your circles. Housing is like circle 3. So, but let's see what else we got going on. Average monthly price per square foot for closed listings went up again last month, all right, and then continuing the month before that, also going up. So we're up 3.4% in just 2 months to start out this year, all right. Nobody's tracking a housing crash in this state except for the people who are desperately trying to get you to buy food storage products and whatever cryptocurrency they're peddling at that time, right? So, and this, you know, reoccurring theme, people are going to come up and say, hey, I just saw this guy on YouTube, you know. Well, hey, I'm a guy on YouTube. I don't have as many followers as that guy does, but, you know, at least my information's better. And, you know, so there's always going to be the people. And because fear sells, right? Wall Street Journal is going to write an article saying about, is there a crash looming in real estate? It's like, well, not here. Not unless we really blow this economy up, and then we're going to be worried about a whole bunch of other things besides real estate at that point. But so yeah, that's where we're at. What happened over the weekend had an impact on our rates, shouldn't have any impact on our market right now. Builders are still not building enough houses. All right, just projected for how many people are moving here, and guarantee you what, if the California regional banks crash and the California regional economy has issues because of those bank crashing, Californians leave, they migrate, all right, which means more of them moving here. Guess what that does? All right, so let's wrap this up. On an unfun note, apparently I do not have enough viewers. And I might have enough viewers, you guys, but you guys are not getting the word out, because I wrap up this episode and this show every time with the magic word, say it with me, class, watch your children and pets around the water. And this weekend was a really, really bad weekend for that. So we have 2 children. One on Monday, a toddler was pulled out of a pool in Scottsdale. It was actually the neighbor's pool, and that house was unoccupied. It was a Airbnb in Scottsdale. They found the toddler next door, somehow crossing a 6-foot block wall, right, dead in the pool. Right, and that is a tragedy. That was Monday. Wednesday night, they found another girl, 2 years old. She's in critical condition. She's currently in the hospital at a Maricopa, where they found her in a pool. If you guys remember, Wednesday night was a little cold. Right, Wednesday night was really cold. So just because it's not a pool party, and just because it's not, pool weather, don't think a child is not going to suddenly want to get the ducky out of the pool, or the little floating thing, or whatever reason a child or a small pet is going to wind up in the pool. In the case of the Scottsdale one, they said that the security systems and the gates and everything were in place and were functional, so they're still investigating how that child got in there. But please, friends and families, and you had somebody with a pool, just remember, even if you don't have kids, your neighbors have kids. Make sure you have those systems working and in place. All right, and they make little alarm floaters where if something hits that pool, the alarm goes off. Maybe you want to investigate getting one of those. So after that, seems like we already had all of our water and stuff like that, so nobody got themselves in the pool. And of course, despite all this bad news about banks and children and stuff like that, I want you guys to have a great weekend. All right, work your circles, and short episode. I'll catch you guys next week.